Pervert. Someone who has inappropriate sexual behavior or thoughts. He's a pervert, always making creepy comments. Trophy wife. A younger woman who marries an older, wealthy man, often for status or money. People say she's just a trophy wife, there for the luxury lifestyle. Vixen. A woman who is attractive and uses her charms to get her way, often mischievously. She's a vixen, always knowing how to get what she wants from men. Player. A person who dates multiple people at the same time without commitment. He's such a player, he has a different girlfriend every week. Cougar. An older woman who dates or pursues younger men. She's known as a cougar, always dating guys much younger than her. Skank. A woman who is considered dirty or has a bad reputation. Example, she's been called a skank because she dresses in a way people don't like. Slut. A woman who is thought to have too many sexual partners. Example, some people unfairly called her a slut just because she has dated several guys. Tart. A woman who dresses or behaves in a way that seems too sexual. Example, people said she was acting like a tart because of her short dress and loud flirting. Floozy. A woman who is seen as loose or sleeps around. Example, she has a bad reputation because people think she's a floozy who dates too many guys. Hoe. A woman who is considered to sleep around too much. Example, they called her a hoe because she's been with a lot of different guys. Jezebel. A woman seen as attractive and behaving in a way some think is wrong, often connected with cheating. Example, they called her a Jezebel for leading men astray, even when she was committed. Playboy. A rich man who enjoys partying, dating many women, and living a fun, carefree life. Example, Tom is known as a playboy, always going to fancy parties and dating different women. Lech. A person who behaves in a sexually inappropriate or creepy way. Example, he's always staring at women in a gross way. What a lech. Femme fatale. A seductive woman who often brings trouble or misfortune to men. Example, she's a classic femme fatale, leading men into risky situations. Runaround Sue. A woman who dates many men, often cheating or being unfaithful. Example, they call her Runaround Sue because she's always playing the field. Sneaky link. A woman who secretly meets with someone for casual encounters, often outside of a committed relationship. Example, she's his sneaky link, meeting up with him when his girlfriend isn't around. Side chick. A woman who is involved with someone who is already in a relationship, often secretly. Example, she's his side chick, always sneaking around because he's already taken. Grifter. A person who cheats or scams others for money or gain. He's a grifter, always looking for his next con. Prude. A woman who is very conservative or strict about moral issues, especially regarding sex. They call her a prude because she doesn't like talking about anything risque. Homewrecker. A woman who has an affair with a married man, leading to the breakdown of his marriage. She's a homewrecker, having an affair with a married man and ruining his family. Clout chaser. Someone who does things just to gain fame or attention. She only hangs out with popular people because she's a clout chaser. Trash talk. Speaking badly about someone, usually to insult them. They were trash talking their opponents before the game. Heartbreaker. Someone who often ends relationships and leaves others hurt. He's known as a heartbreaker because he never stays with anyone long. Flirt. A person who behaves as if they're interested in someone romantically, often without serious intent. He's a big flirt, always charming the girls but never committing. Grimy. Someone who is dirty or morally questionable. That deal he offered sounds grimy. I wouldn't trust him. Mean girl. A woman who is deliberately unkind or cruel to others, especially in a social setting. She's a mean girl, always making fun of others to feel superior. Bridezilla. A bride-to-be who is very demanding and difficult to deal with during wedding planning. She's turned into a total bridezilla, micromanaging every detail of the wedding. Nosy Nelly. A woman who is overly interested in other people's private matters. She's a nosy Nelly, always prying into her neighbor's business. Addict. Someone who cannot stop doing something harmful, like drugs or gambling. He's struggling as an addict and needs help. Wimp. Someone who is weak or lacks courage. Example, stop being a wimp and face your fears head on. Drama queen. Someone who overreacts to minor issues and seeks attention. Example, she's such a drama queen, always making a fuss over the smallest things. Tattletale. Someone who reports others' mistakes or misdeeds. Example, he's a tattletale, always running to the boss about small issues. Jerk. Someone who is rude or mean. Example, he was such a jerk, cutting in line and pushing people aside. Blabbermouth. Someone who talks too much and can't keep secrets. Example, don't tell her anything, she's a blabbermouth. Snob. Someone who thinks they are superior to others. Example, she's a snob, always looking down on people she considers less sophisticated. Grump. Someone who is easily annoyed and in a bad mood. Example, don't mind him, he's just a grump who complains about everything. Airhead. Someone who is not very smart or is forgetful. Example, she forgot her phone at home again. What an airhead! Backstabber. A person who betrays or deceives others. I can't trust him. He's a backstabber spreading lies about his friends behind their backs. stubborn. Someone who is unwilling to change their mind or attitude. Example, she's so stubborn, she won't admit she was wrong. Bonehead. A foolish or stupid person. Example, only a bonehead would leave their keys in the car with the engine running. Bossy. Someone who tells others what to do all the time. Example, she's so bossy, she always wants to control everything we do. Bum. Someone who avoids work and is often lazy. Example, he's just a bum, always sitting around and doing nothing. Cheap. Someone who doesn't want to spend money and is stingy. Example, he's too cheap to buy a round of drinks for everyone. Chicken. Someone who is afraid or lacks courage. Example, don't be a chicken, try the new ride, it's fun. Clingy. Someone who is too dependent on others for attention and affection. Example, he's so clingy, he calls me all the time and can't stand being alone. Conceited. Someone who is too proud of themselves and their abilities. Example, he's so conceited, always bragging about his achievements. Creep. Someone who behaves in an unsettling or disturbing way. Example, that guy at the party was a real creep, always staring and making people uncomfortable. Moaner. Someone who complains a lot. Example, he's always a moaner, never satisfied with anything. Dimwit. A person who is not very intelligent. Example, he was acting like a dimwit, not understanding the simplest instructions. Flake. Someone who is unreliable and often cancels plans. Example, she's such a flake, she never shows up when she says she will. Freeloader. Someone who takes advantage of others and doesn't contribute. Example, he's a freeloader, always eating our food without helping out. Gossiper. Someone who spreads rumors or talks about others behind their backs. Example, she's a gossiper. She's always talking about what others are doing. Idiot. A person who acts in a very foolish way. Example, it was such an idiot move to forget the important documents at home. Know-it-all. Someone who acts as if they know everything. Example, I can't stand him. He's such a know-it-all, always correcting everyone. Loser. Someone who is unsuccessful or lacks social skills. Example, he feels like a loser because he hasn't achieved his goals yet. Loudmouth. Someone who talks loudly and says things that should be kept private. Example, he's a loudmouth, always broadcasting everyone's secrets. Lunatic. Someone who behaves in a crazy or irrational way. Example, that guy is a lunatic, driving like a maniac on the highway. Nerd. Someone who is very interested in technical or intellectual subjects. Example, he's a total nerd when it comes to computers and video games. Pessimist. Someone who always expects the worst to happen. Example, he's such a pessimist. He never believes things will turn out well. Pig. Someone who eats too much or is very messy. Example, he ate like a pig at the party, leaving crumbs everywhere. Pretentious. Someone who tries to appear more important or knowledgeable than they are. Example, his pretentious attitude made him seem insincere and annoying. Slob. Someone who is very messy and untidy. Example, his room is a disaster. He's such a slob. Sponger. Someone who takes advantage of others and avoids responsibility. Example, he's a sponger, always borrowing money without ever paying it back. Ungrateful. Someone who does not show appreciation for what they receive. Example, she was ungrateful for the help she received, not even saying thank you. Weirdo. Someone who is strange or unconventional. Example, he's a bit of a weirdo, with his unusual hobbies and quirks. Witch. Someone who is perceived as unpleasant or difficult to deal with. Example, she can be a real witch when things don't go her way. Wuss. Someone who is weak or easily frightened. Example, he's such a wuss, always getting scared at the slightest thing. Rebel. Someone who refuses to follow the rules or authority. She skipped school again, such a rebel. Frenemy. A person who pretends to be a friend but is actually an enemy. I thought she was my friend, but she turned out to be a frenemy. Leech. Someone who takes advantage of others, often financially. Example, he's just a leech, always borrowing money but never paying it back. Bigot. A person who is intolerant of others' beliefs, opinions, or lifestyles. He's a bigot, always making hateful comments about others. Brat. A spoiled, badly behaved child or young person. That kid is such a brat, throwing tantrums all the time. Brute. A very rough or violent person. He's a brute, always getting into fights. Chauvinist. A person with a biased belief in the superiority of their own gender or group. He's a chauvinist, always putting down women. Chump. A gullible person who is easily fooled or cheated. Don't be a chump. Don't let them take advantage of you. Nuisance. Someone who is annoying or causes problems for others. You're a nuisance, always getting in the way. Tool. A person who is used by others or lacks original thought. He's just a tool, always doing what others tell him to do. Dweeb. A person who is socially awkward or unpopular. Don't be such a dweeb. Try to fit in a little more. Shallow. Someone who lacks depth in thinking or emotions, often focused on superficial things. She's so shallow, only cares about looks and money. Martyr. Someone who always acts like they are suffering more than others for sympathy. She's always playing the martyr, making a big deal out of every little thing. Copycat. A person who imitates someone else, often in an annoying way. Stop being a copycat and come up with your own ideas. Cretin. A very stupid or mentally disabled person, used as an insult. You're such a cretin for believing that nonsense. Crook. A dishonest person, especially someone who steals or cheats. That guy's a crook. You can't trust him with anything valuable. Cynic. Someone who believes that people are motivated purely by self-interest. He's a cynic, always thinking the worst of everyone. Delinquent. A young person who regularly engages in criminal behavior. He's a delinquent, always in trouble with the law. Dog. A derogatory term for a man, often used to describe someone unfaithful or unattractive. He's a dog, always cheating on his girlfriend. Douchebag. A contemptible or detestable person, often used to describe someone arrogant or rude. That guy's a douchebag, always treating others with disrespect. Drunk. A person who is frequently intoxicated. He's a drunk, always passing out after drinking too much. Vandal. Someone who destroys or damages property on purpose. The vandals spray painted the walls last night. Vulture. A person who preys on the misfortunes of others for personal gain. He's like a vulture, waiting for others to fail so he can take advantage. Yes man. Someone who always agrees with those in authority, often insincerely. He's just a yes man, never stands up for his own opinions. Dingbat. A silly or eccentric person who often does foolish things. You're such a dingbat for not checking the weather before leaving. Ballbuster. Someone who is excessively demanding or harsh. He's a real ballbuster, never letting us catch a break. Spoilsport. Someone who ruins others' fun by being negative or strict. Don't be a spoilsport, let us have some fun. Pervert. Someone who has inappropriate sexual behavior or thoughts. He's a pervert, always making creepy comments. Suck up. A person who flatters others to gain favor. He's such a suck-up, always trying to impress the boss. Psycho. A person who is mentally unstable and behaves erratically. He's a psycho, you never know what he'll do next. Phony. A fake person who pretends to be something they're not. He's a phony, always pretending to be someone he's not. Slacker. Someone who avoids work and responsibilities. He's a slacker, never putting in any effort. Moron. A very stupid person who makes foolish decisions. You're a moron for not thinking this through. Punk. A young troublemaker who is often disrespectful. He's just a punk, always causing trouble. Scoundrel. A dishonest person who behaves dishonorably. He's a scoundrel, always lying and cheating. Snowflake. Someone who is overly sensitive and easily offended. He's such a snowflake, can't take any criticism. Rascal. A mischievous person who causes trouble in a playful way. He's a rascal, always playing pranks. Recluse. Someone who avoids social interaction and prefers to be alone. He's a recluse, never comes out of his house. Nag. Someone who constantly criticizes or complains, often about small things. Stop being a nag, it's really annoying. Narcissist. A person who is excessively interested in themselves and their own appearance or importance. He's a narcissist, always talking about himself. Neurotic. Someone who is overly anxious and worried about everything. She's neurotic about every little detail. Nitpicker. A person who finds small faults in everything and is overly critical. Don't be a nitpicker, focus on the bigger picture. Nutcase. A crazy or very eccentric person. He's acting like a nutcase, completely irrational. Overbearing. Someone who is too controlling and domineering. She's overbearing, always telling everyone what to do. Paranoid. A person who is overly suspicious and believes others are out to get them. Stop being paranoid, not everyone is against you. Peasant. A derogatory term for someone who is seen as low class or unrefined. He's a peasant with no manners. Prick. A very unpleasant and rude person. He's a prick, always being mean to everyone. Retard. An offensive term for someone with a mental disability, used to insult someone's intelligence. Don't use that word, it's very offensive and hurtful. Scumbag. A very unpleasant and morally low person. He's a scumbag, always taking advantage of others. Selfish. Someone who only thinks of themselves and doesn't consider others. You're selfish, never thinking about anyone else. Show off. Someone who likes to brag and draw attention to themselves. He's a show-off, always trying to impress people. Simpleton. A foolish person who lacks intelligence. He's a simpleton, never understands anything. Skeptic. Someone who doubts and questions everything. He's a skeptic, never believes anything without proof. Slowpoke. A very slow person who takes a long time to do anything. You're such a slowpoke, hurry up. Sociopath. A person who has no regard for others' feelings and is manipulative. He's a sociopath, always using people for his own gain. Nag. A woman who complains or asks for things constantly. Example, his wife is always reminding him to do things, and now he calls her a nag. Witch. A mean, nasty woman who makes life difficult for others. Example, she's been acting like a real witch lately, saying rude things to everyone. Ballbuster. A tough, demanding woman who pushes others around. Example, at work, she's known as a ballbuster because she's always bossing people around. Shrew. A woman who is always arguing and being mean. Example, he complains that his wife is a shrew because she always argues with him. Fishwife. A woman who shouts and argues loudly. Example, she was yelling in the street like a fishwife, and everyone could hear her. Yenta. A woman who loves to gossip and spread rumors. Example, she's always talking about people's business, so they call her a yenta. Vamp. A woman who uses her looks to get what she wants. Example, she's always flirting with men to get favors, acting like a vamp. Ditz. A silly woman who isn't very smart or serious. Example, she always gets confused about the simplest things, so people say she's a ditz. Spinster. An older woman who never got married. Example, they called her a spinster because she's older and never found a husband. Tease. A woman who flirts but doesn't mean it. Example, she's always leading guys on but never really likes them, so people call her a tease. Harpy. A woman who is constantly nagging or criticizing. Example, people say she's a harpy because she never stops criticizing others. Man-eater. A woman who dates men and then breaks their hearts. Example, they say she's a man-eater because she dates guys and leaves them when she's bored. Catty. A woman who makes sneaky, mean comments. Example, she made a catty remark about her friend's outfit, saying it wasn't stylish. Battle axe. An older, bossy woman who is hard to deal with. Example, his mother-in-law is a real battle axe, always telling him what to do. Chick. A casual or disrespectful term for a young woman. Example, he called all the women at the party chicks, which they didn't like. Thanks for watching and subscribe us for more. Thanks for watching and subscribe us for more.